Namaskar and welcome to session 2 of Karma Demystified series. Before we go on to what we're going to do next, let's just quickly recap what we did last time just to follow the link. If you remember, we started last session with one very strong statement, chapter 4, verse 17 of the Bhagavad Gita, in which Krishna says, Gahana karmano gatihi, that he himself declares it is very difficult to understand the workings of karma. It is very deep and it is very intricate. And we clarified that these series are going to be a complete demystification of all the myths that have been created around this one word, karma. So what we saw last time, a few things that we saw last time was, we cleared a few myths like karma does not equal good here, reward here, bad here, punishment here. Karma doesn't mean that everything in our life is fixed. Karma doesn't mean that punishment is given by a god sitting up in heaven. So all of these myths, the minute we say karma, our first reaction is, oh, such good things are happening in his life, he's got good karma. Oh, such bad things are happening in his life, he's got bad karma. It doesn't work as simply as that. It's deeper than that, and that depth is what we're trying to go into. Then we looked at the true meaning of the word karma. Again, karma for us is just what we are receiving in life, but we looked at the true meaning of karma, which meant to act and to do. We'll get into deeper definitions this class, but that was what we saw in the last class. Then we saw how karmas are created on 3 levels. Kāyika, through the body, Vācika, from the mouth, from speech, and Mānasika, from the mind, wherever you know mind is. Then we saw the cycle of karma. This was a very important aspect we looked at, which was how that loop creates. It all begins with an intention. Then there is an action. That action has a reaction, which goes on to form a further impression. So remember that loop. In fact, when you write it in your notes, write it like a loop. Again, I repeat, intention, action, result, impression. So that goes on in circles. We just touched upon drishta and adrishta phala, those karmas that come back to us very seen, very immediate, and those that which we cannot see. Now this we'll hold on to because that will be explained very nicely in the following session, not today's session, but the next session. We also touched upon Ishvara's role in karma. Now for this, we didn't go into the depth because for those who've been with us in Chapter 1 through the classes, we've explained it in great details. If you haven't, we'll send the link to the book. Please get book 1. There is an elaborate description on Ishvara in that book. We also looked at the essence of the law. What is the essence of the karmic law? This is again something you need to keep in mind when we're doing today's session. It is moral and psychological cause and effect. All of karma is a moral and psychological cause and effect. Every action produces a precise reaction, and the law is precise, impartial, and we saw it very clearly. It is compassionate. Life is our biggest cheerleader. It's not out to get us, it's working for us. Then also the most important thing, what links us to today's class is why understanding this law matters. That is the biggest question. Why should we even study karma? Because no matter what we do, even if we decide not to act, we are acting. We cannot avoid action, and only our conscious awareness will turn action into worship and further help us co-create our karma. Which brings me to today's session and an introduction to today's session and a wonderful, wonderful verse from chapter 6, verse 1, which says, Anarshita karma phalam karyam karma karoti yaha sasanyasi cha yogi cha na niragnirna chakriyaha, which simply means that when we look at the whole Gita teaching, it's teaching us from being completely ignorant, we move to being a yogi. Practicing yoga, karma yoga properly, we get to be a sannyasi. An automatic renunciation starts happening within us. And it's only through that automatic renunciation that we come to becoming a jnani, an enlightened person. So how do we bridge this gap of being completely ignorant to now coming to becoming a full jnani? The meaning of this verse is one who is unattached to the fruits of his work, and he who works as he is supposed to work is a true sannyasi, a true yogi. He is not the one who does not light the fire or who does not perform activity. So we have to act. But what are the different actions that we engage in, and how do we perform these actions is what today's class is going to start explaining to us. Now, how we act is not only going to influence our spiritual field, but also our material field. It's not only our evolution, but even how we are going to gain success or failure and distress or joy within this world is going to become very apparent to us once we start understanding the various actions. So today's session, we will look at all the actions. First, we look at two definitions of karma. We will go in depth into the first definition. We'll leave the second definition for the next session. And essentially, in today's session, we will look at Nitya Karma, Naimittika Karma, Kamya Karma, Nishiddha Karma, Prayashchitta Karma. We will also segregate karmas into Niyatam Karma, that what we have to do, Aniyatam Karma, which we do not have to do, and how karma can either be Vaidika or Laukika. I have not given any definitions of any of these karmas because now I will hand it over to Rajesh ji to go into the in-depth definitions through this session, and I'll come back later for the wind-up.
Thank you, Avanti. Hope I'm audible to all. So we are going to continue. Let's quickly ground where we stopped. If one message you need to remember from the last class, it is the two definitions of karma. We said karma means anything we do with our body, speech or mind. Vācikam, Kāyikam, Mānasam. Basically, whatever we think, whatever we feel, whatever we do, it is karma. Karma's definition, that meaning that defines the scope of kriya. Kriya means action. But karma is much more than that. Actions are karma. Karma is little bit more than action. Of course, actions are karma, but the second definition, which gives a little bit more scope to karma, it is that force that linking the action and reaction. Every action leaves some impressions, some footprints, some credit or debit in our account, which later manifest as favorable or unfavorable condition. That is also karma. So one is action, and second is the results of that, unseen results of that action, which manifest later point of time as actions, conditions, etc. So these are the two definitions of the karma we saw in our previous class. So today what we are going to do is, as Avanti was highlighting, we wanted to classify, because before we go into the details of karma, we wanted to understand what are all the different types of karma. But 1 minute back I said there are two different dimensions of karma. The first dimension is whatever we do. The second dimension is whatever we accumulate as a result of that action, unseen result. So the word karma is very complicated, because sometimes you classify the karma based on the first dimension, and some other classifications are based on the second dimension. So you need to understand what exactly is the dimension, meaning using which we are classifying the karma. So today we are going to do at least two of the major classification when you consider as an action. And we are going to continue that next week. We are going to elaborate that and complete whatever is the different classifications of karma, considering karma as an action. And then we are going to go back to the second dimension and see how do you classify karma if you take the second dimension of karma. Hope this is clear, right? So there are two dimensions of karma. One is whatever I do. Second one is whatever I accumulate, unseen accumulation of the results of the karma, adrishta phala. So based on these two dimensions, you can classify the karma into multiple ways. So this is why we wanted to understand the different classification. So even if you take the karma as action, there are multiple ways to dice and slice, right? One fact can be diced and sliced in many ways. So there are multiple ways to dice and slice the karma. So we wanted to understand the different terminologies and the accurate meaning of these terminologies, because it is very important that we understand the meaning so that we can relate when these terms comes in the scriptures, you understand, and when we connect all these things together, the whole meaning is clear. So that is why we wanted to classify the karma, because each definition of the karma leads to different classification. The second point is that when you classify the karma, understand the sub-classifications of karma, you understand why we act, you understand how we act, and you understand how you accumulate, what exactly you accumulate. One classification of karma is based on what I act, and the second classification is what I accumulate. So this is very important in understanding the karma. So this classification also is going to distinguish like what is duty versus choice, what is karma based on dharma and adharma, what is binding and non-binding karma. If you study Bhagavad Gita, this is one term that comes very often, binding karma, unbinding karma. So this study is going to prepare you very well to approach karma yoga very, like you can understand karma yoga very well. So that is the significance of classification of karma. I'm going to cover a few topics and we will give enough time for Q&A at the end. I'm not going to cover a lot, but whatever we cover, please try to understand and ask any questions. So when you take the first definition of karma, you can classify the karma or dice and slice the karma in 4 different ways. One is the scriptures tells us that all the karma, any karma a human being performed can be classified into 5 categories. Nitya Karma, Naimittika Karma, Kamya Karma, Nishipta Karma and Prayaschitta Karma. I'll share the slides with you so you will have material, so don't worry about that. So that is one way of looking at it. So you look at the entire scope of karma that can be performed by an individual, and then you can dice and slice into these 5 categories. Everything you can do will come into one of these categories. That is the first classification. The second dicing and slicing of the karma is based on dharma. What is absolute must-haves in my life? And what is my choices? So that is called niyatam karma, aniyatam karma. So that is the second category. The third category is Vācika karma and Laukika karma. What is the worldly actions? What is the spiritual or the religious actions? So that is another way of looking at the karma. And the fourth karma is the karma's guna, like the type of karma based on, is that a beneficial karma? Is that an aggressive karma? Or is that like a karma which is going to hurt anybody and put somebody down? Based on that guna, the karma can be divided into sattva, rajas, tamas. Thus, if you take the meaning of the karma as something I perform, something I do, the karma can be classified into these 4. And of course, there are more, but these are the predominant definition, the dicing and slicing of the karma. Again, these terminologies will come in different scriptures at different places. What we try to do was consolidate everything so that you can have a complete understanding. So let's continue. The next topic is the first category. Like the scriptures defines karma in 5 buckets. It's called Nitya Karma, which can be loosely translated as regular duties or the daily duties. Naimittika Karma, occasional duties. Kamya Karma, the desire-driven activities. Nishitha Karma, the karma that is prohibited, something below the dignity of being a human being. and prayaschitta karma. Like suppose you make a mistake, the corrective action, that is known as prayaschitta karma. These 5 types of karma forms the complete blueprint of all the human effort. Everything we do will come under one of these buckets. See, analyzing and classification is, data analysis and classification is the basis of any research or any study. So this is the brilliance you see in our Vedic scriptures. You see these type of dicing and slicing of huge amount of data, right? Look at the scope of data here. Think about this. The scope of data is the potential action any human being can perform, right? If there are 8.4 billion people, whatever action they can do, think or say is all bucketed up into these 5 buckets. This is what it is. So now let's go into detail. So the first category is known as Nitya Karma. Nitya means daily, that is the or regularly. This is the foundation for our regular discipline. Anybody can think about Nitya Karma? Just make it a little bit of interacting. Brushing my teeth every day, right? Taking bath, eating my food. It's not that like only the Vedic things will come under here, right? So whatever, as a human being for my survival, all the actions I need to do regularly will come under Nitya Karma.
That also includes going to office to work, even though that's like 5 days a week.
See, that comes under a different category. Nitya Karma means it is, so if you don't go to office, like it is not going to, like, of course you will have money issue, but that's not absolute must have. So that will come under the Kamya Karma. So let's go one by one, right? So building, the beauty of the Nitya Karma is it builds some structure in your life. This is the building block of your progress. Learning. Find some time to learn every week. Don't matter like whether you're retired or aged or not going to work. Continuous learning. Cleaning. Like everything, right? Entertainment, having regular entertainment, all these things will come under that. Build structure, it will make you pure, it will give you self-respect. When you have that discipline, it gives you self-respect. I think this term you all can relate. Every day or regularly we all do certain type of action, and that is Nitya Karma. Understand, there is a beautiful, beautiful quote in the scripture. What we do every day quietly builds who we become. What we do every day quietly builds who we become. A little bit of prayer, little bit of meditation, little bit of all these disciplines, little bit of exercise, little bit of reading. See, if you read 10 minutes every day, like do that for 41 days or like 50 days, after that, just like you take the shower, this will automatically happen. Without reading, you cannot go to sleep. If you build a habit, that habit is going to build you. That is exactly what it is. So the morning routine, the prayer meditation, like caring for the family, supporting for the family, daily ethics, you have whatever you have to follow regularly, that is called Nitya Karma. This is such an important type of karma. That is why this comes as the first karma. So the second karma is Naimittika Karma. Naimittika Karma means what? Naimittika means a particular occasion, Nimittam. Nimittam means a sign. You don't need to do everything every day that, but it is performed at specific occasions. These type of karmas you don't do regularly, but you perform at specific occasion. Let's say that somebody is sick. You will go and visit him, isn't it? Something happens. You will go and attend. Sometimes to express gratitude. Sometimes it is for the emotional intelligence. You do something for you to, because of certain occasion or certain reason. It may not be regular, but occasional. Like festivals, anniversary, supporting somebody in need, rituals performed on specific occasion. Right? Certain 60th birthday, somebody performs a ritual. I'm just mixing both the religious and the worldly activities, just because a lot of people think this as the religious activity only. No, people think that Naimitya Karma is even in the worldly daily life, it happens. Like visiting elders, helping, like during pandemic, supporting people. All these things are nimitta, and you respond to a nimitta. Again, a beautiful quote from some of the Shankaracharya's writing. It tells, life gives us moments. And what Naimitya Karma? Naimitya Karma is how we honor them. Think through this. Imagine somebody's 60th birthday is coming, or a marriage is coming. Are we giving time to honor that? That's one thing. Second thing is, like, let's say that somebody, you find somebody lying down in the road. Immediately you drop everything and go and support him. This is, life gives you a moment, a nimitta, and how do you honor the nimitta is Naimitya Karma. It can be used as a big purifier in our life, and it can be used as a big negative thing also in your life. Right? You see that, okay, there is an opportunity to cheat. You go and do that cheating. That is also a Naimitya Karma. So it can be both ways. Nitya Karma is also, it can be good, or it can be elevating, or it can be putting you down also. Every day I smoke without failure. Every day I drink. Right? It is a Nitya Karma. It became a Nitya Karma, but what is going to happen? Like putting you down. So Nitya Karma and Naimitya Karma can be elevating or putting you down. It can be a duty, meaning, yeah, of course, like it can be a duty or it can be a choice. It can be a good karma or it can be a bad karma. So all these dicing and slicing, like you have to understand. So it can be a religious karma or it can be a worldly karma. Can you tell me a Nitya Karma, religious karma? Anybody? Your daily prayer. Every day you are supposed to pray. That's a religious activity. Those who follow Vedas very strictly, they do Sandhya Vandanam every day. That is Nitya Karma. And what is Naimitya Karma from a religious activity? Occasionally you do some rituals like an Athiratra or something. Yeah, exactly. Athiratra or whatever, or even like a marriage ceremony or whatever ritual you do. So it can be Laukika, it can be Vaidika. And each of this could be done as a Swatik, Rajasic and Tamasic also. So that is why you need to understand these different classifications of karma. I'm just trying to give an example. Just because it is, I do Naimitya Karma, that doesn't mean that all that karma is going to help me. So that is the second category of karma. Let's continue. Third category of karma, Kamya Karma. Kamya Karma means each one of us have some desires. Kamya means desire. Right? Kamya means desire. And Kamya Karma means the karmas you do to satisfy your desire. There is nothing wrong in that. If you take the Purushartha, what is Purushartha? The goals of an individual. Artha, getting security. Kama means getting to satisfy your desire. So career promotions, like these Kamya Karmas, the action driven by desires, is taken for personal goals or aspiration. There is nothing wrong in that. It is not wrong. Like if you are not careful, it can create attachment. That's all. Karma didn't say that Kamya karmas are wrong. Karma's theory is saying that when you approach the Kamya karma, you have to approach that with a right attitude. Otherwise, it can create bondage. I'm extremely obsessed with a particular outcome, and then I will cut corners, and also I get addicted to that outcome. Like my success, my state of well-being. Let's say that there is nothing wrong in aspiring for a promotion. But if I am completely attached to it, if I think that there is no value for my life without that promotion, that's a problem. That's all it tells. So there is nothing wrong in Kamya karma. In the 7th chapter of the Gita, Krishna says, I am that Kamya karma which is aligned with Dharma. We studied it. Those who studied the 7th chapter with us, right? We studied that. Dharmat viruddhyat kameshu bharadashrava. Those desires which are not against Dharma, and when you work on that, I'm with you. There is nothing wrong in that. And like buying a house, traveling, learning a skills for career advancement, not for anything else, but everybody is learning a lot of new skills now. For what? Career advancement. There's nothing wrong in that. So the takeaway message is that desires can elevate you when guided with awareness and Dharma, not with attachment. That's all. Once again, we talked about Nitya Karma, Naimitya Karma, Kamya Karma. So we can relate a lot of Laukika Karma with Karma Karma. What about Vaidika Karma? Anybody can tell me one Vaidika Karma with which is Kamya Karma? Putra Kameshti. Dasharatha did this. Right? Putra Kameshti Yaga. Rishya Shringa did that for Dasharatha. We are going to learn that in Ramayana. But that is a Kamya Karma. There is nothing wrong in that. So, as I said, like all these things, it can be like diced and sliced in many ways. So, Nitya Karma, Nainimitya Karma, Kamya Karma. The next karma is very interesting, which is called Nishiddha Karma. Nishiddha Karma means what? Prohibited actions. Prohibited actions means what? It's not a God telling me that don't do this, don't do that. It is strictly prohibited because, that is very important. It is not because of the will of the God or a commandment of the God. I said, so you don't do it. That's not the attitude, right? If I put my finger in the fire, what is going to happen? Is the fire is punishing me? No. It was my choice. So these Nishiddha karmas, the scriptures educate us that it is like putting your finger in the fire. If you do it, it will come back and bite you, and nobody else should be blamed for that. So this is Nishiddha karma. So what is the definition of Nishiddha karma? It is the violation of Dharma and universal ethics. That's it. And don't tell me that I don't know Dharma. Dharma is very complicated. Dharma is the most simplest thing in the world. Karma is complicated, but Dharma is simple. The basic Dharma is very simple. In Mahabharata, the whole Mahabharata and Ramayana is an elaboration of Dharmam Chara. Do Dharma. And the best definition of Dharma given in the Mahabharata by Vyasa is Atmana Pratikulani Paresha Na Samachare. Very simple, yet the most powerful. Dharma's definition by Vyasa in the Mahabharata is Atmana Pratikulani Paresham Na Samachare. What exactly it is? Don't do anything to others which you don't want from others. That's it. I'm repeating it because a lot of people think that this quote came from Bible alone. Of course, in Bible also it is there, but it is there in Mahabharata also. Yesterday also somebody was quoting this to me and saying that there's a beautiful quote in Bible. I said, yeah, that's correct. There is a beautiful quote in Bible, but this quote was there much before that, Mahabharata. And that is why I'm just quoting the Sanskrit also, just giving a little bit of credibility to what we are talking. Atmana pratikulani paresham na samachare. So this is, don't do, if you know that in mind, you don't do anything to others. That's it. So essentially the scriptures tells that these nishiddha karmas are karmas below the dignity of a human being. Right? When you do that karma, you're acting below your dignity. Evolution has put you to a certain stature in your progression, and this act is below that dignity. What is the difference between animal and human? See, the animal don't become mature, right? Like, of course, some animal has a little bit of intelligence, but generally they act on impulses. What is that make a human being a human being? The ability to think, pause, control his action. And that is why nishiddha karma is given, educated. Whenever you do that, put a break. Even if you feel it, put a break. That's very important. So always create these type of action, always create inner disturbances, bondage, karmic bondage, and guilt also sometimes. 1 or 2 times. But over a period of time, what is going to happen? That guilt will disappear. The guilt is there, but it is suppressed deep in the mind. So this is not going to help. Like dishonesty, cheating, like all these things will, exploitation, unethical business practice, like all these things. Even nishiddha karma is there in prayers also. If you sit and pray that the other person, let him, something happen to the other person, that is nishiddha karma. Look at the test. Atmana pratikulani paresham na samachare. Would you accept somebody pray that let some bad thing happens to you? Absolutely not. Then don't do that to others. Some people does that. So that is under any circumstances, this is not permitted. Finally, let's go to the next topic, which is prayaschitta karma. See, whatever you do, however you are careful, sometimes mistake will happen. Knowingly or unknowingly sometimes. The moment you realize that mistake, you have to perform a corrective action. See, the action has done, the karma is going to accumulate, but the corrective action is going to mitigate, reduce the effect of that karmic effect. That is called prayaschitta karma. Once again, it is prayaschitta karma, healing after the mistake or the corrective action to restore the balance. So it helps to purify yourself. It helps to reduce the guilt. It will reduce the regret and also the karmic effects. Example, apology, like I think there are so many ways, like doing some charity, some prayers. One of the most powerful prayer to heal such situation is Sri Rudram. You chant Sri Rudram, that's one thing. There are 2 situations where the prayaschitta karma is invoked. One is sometimes you do perform a nishiddha karma, right? You do something which you are supposed to do. You can do a prayaschitta karma. So that is one aspect. The second aspect is what? You don't do what you need to do. See, doing what is not to be done is one reason to do the prayaschitta karma, and not doing what is to be done is also another reason. So these are the 5 categories of karma defined by our scriptures. So here, putting it all together, this is very interesting. So you can look at that. What the Nitya Karma tells you, what I should do daily or regularly. What Naimitya Karma tell you, what I should do occasionally or based on the need. Kamya Karma, what to do to achieve my goals, personal goals. Nishitha Karma, what must never do. Prayaschitta Karma, it tells me what I need to correct. Interestingly, these definitions I pulled from an ethical framework, modern ethical framework. And what I did was I tried to map this to the same thing. Okay? So there is no 6th category. Everything will come here. So this framework maps the entire spectrum of human behavior into these karma. What I should do regularly, what I should do occasionally, what I should do for my aspirations, what I should not never do, what I should correct. If you think about your karma into these buckets, it gives you a good framework, ethical moral framework to act. Okay. So the next one is, so another meaning, this particular framework, I try to map that a little bit further. Nitya Karma is going to give you some structure and discipline in your life. Naimitya Karma is going to make you a little bit of sensitive, what needs to do when a situation comes in. Karma Karma is going to get you to your aspirational goal. Nishitha Karma gives you the integrity. You will do what needs to be done, you will not do what should not be done. Correction, Prayaschitta Karma is going to give you the correction. So these 5 type of action guides through daily living, occasional responsibility, desires and goal, ethical boundaries, and mistake management and growth. One is the Vedic terms, the other one is modern management term. Exact same. Daily living, occasional responsibility, desires and goals, ethical boundaries, mistake management and growth. This is the framework. Map this. I'm not making it up. It's exactly the one-to-one mapping. This is the 5 types of karma, which is so powerful in our daily life. We will see one more classification and then we will stop here today. So the next one is the classification of karma based on dharma. Duty versus choice. There are certain things you have to do in your life. So actions categories based on your swadharma. Like you are a father, you have to take care of your child. It is a mandatory thing. Daily, I need to take care of my body. That is a mandatory thing. Daily, I need to do certain things. So these based on my swadharma and my ashrama, right? Where exactly I stand. As a student, what I need to do is very different for me as a grihastha, which is very different as a vanaprastha, which is very different as a sannyasi. Based on my current state, what exactly I need to do? If I'm a professional, going to work is a swadharma. So that is absolute duty. Watching Netflix every day is a choice. Yes, nothing wrong in that, but it's a choice. So you need to understand, in your bucket list of actions you need to perform every day, when you prioritize the action, what is duty versus what is a choice. Why? Because this is going to bring clarity to everyday decision making and prioritization, right? It will reduce confusion, understanding. Whatever you do, try, whenever you prioritize your day, think what is the must have versus what is the nice to have. That's it. So it reduces the confusion, it will reduces the guilt, it will reduces the emotional stress. So this is the next category of karma. And what is that duty is known as niyatam karma. And what is that choice is known as aniyatam karma. Is it clear? This is the second category. We have further classification, which we will cover next week, but a quick recap from my side before Avanti jump in. So, Niyata Karma is going to tell what I should do. Aniyata Karma, what I may do. Knowing the difference reduces emotional confusion. It helps to prioritize action. It is essential for Karma Yoga. Clarity in action. This is again a quote like Shankara. Shankara's shlokas definitely gives good quotes. And one of the quote is, clarity in action is clarity in life. Just contemplate upon that. Clarity in action. If you know what is the must-have, what is the priority, most of the times we give prioritize to what is I may do and completely ignore what I must do. That should not happen. Okay, let me hand over to Avanti for her recap or any additional points.
So Rajeshji has put it together so beautifully. So what I'm going to jump in here with is just some reiterations in forms of points or in forms of just connecting it to daily life the best I can so that we really understand the subject properly. Okay. So going to Nitya Karma, there's no need for further explanation on what it is. We've understood it is our daily duties that we have to do. But one thing I'd like to add to this is that Nitya Karma, when we do Nitya Karma, it does not necessarily give merit for doing it. You're not accumulating punya for doing your Nitya Karma. It is something that you have to do, no matter what. But not doing that Nitya Karma, this is the important part, not engaging in your Nitya Karma is you will gain demerit for neglecting it. You understand the difference. When we do karma, generally there's I'm getting good karma, I'm not getting good karma, I'm getting bad karma. Nitya Karma neglected, you'll only suffer. Simple thing is like if you don't brush your teeth twice a day. Nowadays, doctors are saying you have to floss morning and night. My God, it takes so much time. But we have to do it. If we don't do it, it actually becomes a Nitya Karma. If we don't do it, our next dental visit, and I hope everybody is going 6-monthly dental visit for hygiene appointment, the doctor will immediately tell you haven't been flossing. And tartar has been directly connected to heart disease. So like these things. So there's no punya. Nobody's going to sit there and applaud, wow, you've brushed your teeth. Wow, you've exercised. Exercising. If we don't exercise, we're not going to get some bad karma from heaven or some great catastrophe. Our health is going to deteriorate. So that's very important to understand. Naimittika karma, it basically, what it means is you have to do the right thing at the right time with the right intention. And if you don't do this, it is going to cause karmic leakage. A perfect example I can give you because I coach a lot of newly married, newlywed children and all that. They come to the chair and they say, we've only married our husband. We are not responsible for the family. Now, there are a lot of elders over here. Do you agree with that? Absolutely not. A marriage is not, I just take my husband and run. There are other responses. Yes, your wish was only your husband. That way I can say, oh, I only wish to be a mother. Now, what happens with that child's life doesn't matter. But along with every wish comes a lot of other responsibilities. These become our naimittika karmas. Simple thing. I waited for 2 years because of my son's 12th grade exams and his enlisting into military service and all that to go for my own personal Vedanta and health retreat. And day 4 of arriving in that retreat, my mother-in-law had a stroke here. Because I understood naimittika karma, because I understood it so deeply, it wasn't a battle in my mind. Should I leave or should I stay? I did shoot one prayer heavenward, keep her stable. Her son was here. Everything was fine. We have all the help and everything over here. I said, keep her stable till I finish my retreat. I didn't say that prayer with that desire that I will not go. I've said it with the full preparation that I will go because I'm needed. I'm the only daughter-in-law. He's the only child. But true to it, she stabilized immediately and I was able to complete my retreat. So this is naimittika karma. It's occasional where you have to drop your things and you have to run. If you don't do it, suppose if she had gotten worse, suppose if I didn't come, it was going to create a lot of karmic leakage. So where we have to step in, I'm making it very daily life, where we have to step in, we have to step in. I don't know how many yet young people because half the videos are not on, but something to understand. It is not I, me, myself. Naimitaka karma brings in that loka sangraha, that there are, because you live in the world, you have some things that you have to do around you, which you cannot escape from. And if you escape from that, there is going to be karmic leakage. Now, Nishiddha karma, this is something very important to understand. Vedanta, our Shastra, Sanatan Dharma, does not have 10 commandments, 20 commandments, 30 commandments, 50 commandments. It does not say, do this, don't do this, do this, don't do this. Yes, there's a general, we all know what is right to do and what is wrong to do, generally, the dharmic injunctions, but it is very context specific. It is very individual specific. So what is right for me to do will be completely wrong for you to do. So that we have to understand, and we have to understand what are the things that are forbidden for us specifically. There's a very sweet story of Vivekananda, where one day he goes to Ram. You know how much trust Ramakrishna had in Vivekananda, right? He was like, this is going to be my vessel where I'm going to pour everything that I have into, and that will go out into the world. And Vivekananda got, troubled by the trust that Ramakrishna was having in him, always questioning, does this man even know me properly? And one day he goes, and he uses this exact word. One day he goes to Ramakrishna and he says, I have done such a nishiddha karma, such a nishiddha karma. I have eaten fish and come to meet you. The way Ramakrishna slighted that off, there and then settling this dispute, should a spiritual person eat non-vegetarian or not? Look, I'm not saying please go and eat non-vegetarian. I'm not advocating vegetarianism. But what I'm saying is there is no such injunction, do this and do that. What is good for you? What is bad for you? What is hindering you? What is not hindering you? That is nishiddha karma. Very important to understand. And in our daily context as householders, please understand the biggest gauge of whether you have performed a nishiddha karma, remember, on all three categories, which means mentally, physically, or through speech, is your own unrest. Rajesh ji highlighted a very important thing, that sometimes unrest becomes, you get immune to it. You do it once, twice, thrice, and you say, oh, it's fine. You get immune to that unrest. But now, as we are students of Gita, students of Upanishad, students of Ramayana, whatever else you all are studying, please pick up that unrest in the first go. Nishiddha karmas would be not stealing somebody's wife. Nobody on this panel is doing that. Nishiddha karma would be not killing somebody. Nobody on this panel is doing that. But are we saying something bad about somebody? We come home, we don't feel right. We shouldn't have said that. We shouldn't have done that. We shouldn't have fought with our spouse. We shouldn't have removed 20 years back story with our spouse for something that happened today. These are the little nishiddha karmas which we become immune to, and they build up for us. So this is what we have to be aware of. The best way of becoming aware is that initial unrest that you get. Then I've not done right. Because of a sane person, of a spiritually evolving person, conscience is very strong. But even in that kind of a person, repeatedly doing that, despite knowing it's not right, will make you immune to it. So very important to understand this. Then we talked about kamya karma. See, we've all come with desires. The reason we are born is because of karma. If we had no desires, we wouldn't come here at all. So how much ever we kid ourselves that, oh, we are spiritual and we don't have desires, we'll push our desires away and all that, they're not going anywhere. You can suppress this and you can make a caricature, a cartoon of yourself, but they are not leaving anywhere. So like almost so many times, so many classes, even when I'm listening to the replays, Rajesh ji has consistently reminded that our desires are not wrong. We are to fulfill our desires. So when you look at kamya karma just like that, you might sanction it. Yes, I have desires, so I can do these things in the world. But the cautionary note for Gita students, for spiritual enthusiasts, for people on the path, is that kamya karma creates desire loops if not addressed properly. If not performed with knowledge, you'll say, oh, what's the harm in just getting one extra car? That's my desire, my deep-rooted desire. But is that going to say, yes, enough? I don't want another car. So my teacher met with Ratan Tata, okay? And we all know that Ratan Tata was a very, very evolved material human being. He didn't ever prophesize his spirituality or whatever. And they had a conversation, and everybody's in awe of how beautifully he's led his life and all of that. And he asked him, he said, I just have one question, sir. How many watches do you have? Okay. And Ratan Tata said, 3. I have 3 watches. My teacher didn't judge. He just asked one question. Do you need 3? 2 were gone, 1 remained. Do you understand? So we might say that, yes, we want 1, but where is it enough? So that loop can be created if we are not aware of our karmas, desires. Yes, I love watching Netflix. In fact, I've haggled with my husband all through the week to get me I haven't had Netflix because we moved house. Get the Netflix there. But what do you want to do? Do you want to binge watch all day, or do you want to just watch one for entertainment? That is where we have to be careful. So until we are completely in hold of our engagement with desire, it is better to err on the side of caution and say, Kamya karma is binding. I have to be careful of it. So that is a very, very important point to remember in Kamya karma. Now, Niyatam karma, what you have to do, you cannot abandon it without consequences. The classic example, we are studying the Bhagavad Gita, right? It was Arjuna's Niyatam karma to fight that war, to re-establish righteousness, to get the justice, to all of that. And he was consistently telling Krishna, no, let me go. I can't do it. That. You can't do that. So whatever is your niyatam karma, there will be consequences if you don't do that. We have to understand that. So in your life, in my life, there are different niyatam karmas. Again, we can't say these are niyatam karmas. Because what are niyatam karmas for my evolution, spiritual and material, are completely different from yours. Maybe for me, I have to sit in front of God 5 hours a day. Maybe you don't need that. So you have to understand what you have to have a firm understanding about your own trajectory in life. Aniyatam karmas, I love it the way my teacher puts it. Most of the time, like Rajesh also rightly said, we make non-priorities our priorities and we make them aniyatam karma. So he always says, you all make Frankensteins out of your duties. You all know the story of Frankenstein, right? A scientist created Frankenstein and Frankenstein ate up the scientist. So we say, this is my duty, this is my duty, this is what I have to do, this is what I have to do, this is what I have to do. And all of that, which we essentially do not have to do, becomes the thing that devours us, becomes the reason for why we come to spirituality in the end. Why am I so stressed? Why am I all over the place? So very important to understand that. Now, prayashchitta karma. Okay. We've understood it nicely that prayashchitta karma is when we realize, first of all, we have to realize that we are doing something wrong. Half the time, there's no realization. Prayashchitta karma is not happening only because whenever something is going wrong, in 1 second, everybody's blaming. It's because of my mother-in-law, it's because of my husband, it's because of my child, it's because of this circumstance, it's because of politics in US. Nobody, please understand one thing for sure. Nothing is coming to you that you do not deserve. That we'll get into much details once we go deeper and deeper and deeper into the karma theory. Everything. So first is acceptance, whether good has come to me. There's this beautiful story of that very famous tennis player who was diagnosed with a horrible disease towards the end of his career, towards the end of the career. And he was being interviewed over there. And he's like, the interviewer was like, don't you feel like completely devastated? How could this happen? You've been so sincere. You've been so with it. How could this happen to you? Aren't you like drained with that question? And so nicely that tennis player responded. He said, when I was winning one contest after the other, one match after the other, being number 1 seed, number 2 seed, whatever else, whatever the lingo of tennis is, I never sat down and questioned, why me? Why am I getting all these things? Now, if this disease has come to me, is it fair for me to say, why me? So we don't understand where we are going wrong, that we are going wrong. If something is going wrong in our life, some source we have responsibility in. Yes, in the Gita, we will understand collective karma and this and God's will and all of those things come together very nicely. But if you keep directing things outward, you're going to have no power. You're at the mercy of the elements. You're at the mercy at whatever God you believe in. But if you feel, if the seed cause of whatever is happening is within me, you accept that, then you can even think about prayashchitta karma. When we do wrong, how long it takes to even say sorry. We think sorry diminishes us. We can't even say sorry when we know we've done wrong. So prayashchitta karma is a far cry. There are 4 types basically of prayashchitta karma, but after you realize that you have erred and you want to correct it. The 4 types, Rajesh has gone through. Tapas, you actually start fasting. So recently I've developed a keen interest in astrology, actually studying and understanding the stars and the planets, because I want to see whether there's any connection. It's there in our Vedas, so it cannot be all bluff. And I went to a few, I'm researching it quite, intensely. And I was fascinated. One astrologer will say, oh, you don't wear this color, wear that color, you wear these many rings, you do this havan, you do that havan. Then in a place like Singapore, you go around on the roads and try and find, there's no stray dog in Singapore. Even if I want, go and find that stray dog, then pet it, then give it some black rice. And what is black rice? Nothing. So many austerities. Do this, do that, do that, do that. Does it help? We'll see at the last point. Next is dana, give charity. Okay, that's also there, that, when you give charity, over there are injunctions and injunctions and injunctions that come from astrologers, give black cloth on Saturday to some random person, give yellow cloth to somebody else, give sesame seed, 1 bottle of sesame seeds, 10 bags of rice, that kind of dana. Then the most beautiful thing, which Bhagavad Gita slightly hints to, is japa. Take God's name with the atonement that I have done wrong, only your name can save me. Throughout the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna has addressed Arjuna as Mahabahu. There is one place after Arjuna asked the question, that my mind is so difficult to control. It's easier to control the wind, but it's not easy to control the human mind. And at that time, Arjuna calls Krishna Mahabahu. I was startled by that, what I recognized there is that there are some things that are not, how much ever we try to correct ourselves, we cannot correct ourselves. We are doing what we can. But there we pray, God, you try and correct this for me. So japa is one of the greatest prayashchittas. And then the most important, what I really wanted to talk about today was prayatna. Prayatna is self-effort. Uddharet atmanatmanam. That is the biggest, for us householders, for us students of Gita, prayatna is the biggest way we can come out of our wrongdoings. Right action. How do we do that? First of all, consciousness to recognize we have erred. Secondly, a conscious need to correct that action. Third is choosing the opposite impulse. There's that famous quote which says, if you've always done what you've always got, you'll always get what you've always gotten. So you have to consciously choose the opposite action. You're always fighting with your spouse. I'm just giving an example. I'm sure nobody on this panel has ever fought with their spouse. Fingers crossed. But if you're constantly fighting with your spouse, today you have learned prayashchitta. Step back. Why is this constant? The next time there's going to be a trigger from your spouse, probably in few minutes after this class. Can you stop and choose the opposite impulse? That is prayatna. That is uddharet atmanatmanam. You lift yourself. You're used to doing this, but you want to correct, so do something opposite. So choosing the opposite impulse, and then active purification. That is for all, once you have done these 2 things, you've taken the effort to try and correct yourself, then japa, dana, sesame oil, rice bags, whatever else may help. After you've tried enough, God's grace does dawn, but you have to try enough. Another quote I love in prayashchitta, best apology is changed behavior. Now think about this keenly. You are doing dana, you are doing japa, you are doing yagna, you are doing prayashchitta, you are saying sorry. And again, you're doing the same thing over and over again. Where is it helping? It's a waste of time. So the best apology, wherever you find yourself erring, is changed behavior. Once you change, and that behavior nobody can change. This can only direct. But if we don't sit down with ourselves, we do not progress. the meaning, I mean, the simple definition as I look at Prayaschitta Karma is restore yourself to your highest self. Do that and you're fine. Laukika Karma and Vedika Karma, we've already seen. But what I'd like to say is I'll just put it all in one line. So you'll get a little bit of, a flow to what is being said over here. So Vedika Karmas, which are given to us by the Vedas, by the Shastras, they help in purifying our mind. Okay? They are set. Why do they help? They help. Why can we say so confidently they help? It's because time tested and true, validated. It's completely tested by time. It is given by the sages and it will purify the mind. But Laukika Karma, where we have a certain amount of choice, not completely because it is dictated a lot by vasanas as well and our inner temperament and all of that. It is what, if done right through the knowledge of the Gita, it purifies our life. So Vedika will purify the mind. Laukika will condense through our actions to purify our life. And when the two come together, then there's material progress and spiritual progress. Vedika Karma, it will prepare the mind for jnana, for what we are studying and all that. If we are following certain things, because that mind which Arjuna has pleaded cannot be controlled, cannot be held together, just following scriptural injunctions. You go to school, teacher will say, study this, you go home, study this, you come back, write the exam. Easy, right? So it will help us to prepare the mind for this jnana. What will Laukika Karma do? So while Vedika Karma is our theory, Laukika Karma is our exam. It will test that jnana in the real life. So it is your biggest gauge. Laukika Karma becomes your practice paper, theory and practical. You're learning, you're practicing what is happening, that is shown in the Laukika Karma. Vedika Karma is what the Vedas enjoin. The Vedas are putting these injunctions to make our life easier. There are test papers and test papers to, now TikTok does test papers apparently for children to pass exams. So that's just giving us easy ways through, just telling us what to do. Laukika Karma is what life will demand from you. And the only way to meet that demand is with the help of Vedika Karma. Very important to understand. So one purifies the inner instrument. Vedika Karma will purify, if followed properly, it will purify the inner instrument. And Laukika Karma will show whether your purification is real. So this is very important to understand. If you bring them hand to hand, if you treat life and all your Laukika Karmas as your practical exam, you yourself will be able to see how much is this knowledge helping, how much am I able to go forward in life. Now, putting all the different karmas together, just a few things which I will tie back to what I said in the beginning of the class. Nitya Karma keeps you grounded. Always it will keep you grounded. It will help you function at your highest best. So Nitya Karma will keep you grounded. Naimitaka Karma will keep you aligned to your own purpose and everything else that comes along with your purpose. Swadharma doesn't mean I will do what I want to do, what I have to do, what I like to do, and that is what I'll have to do. Along with that Swadharma comes a lot of other dharmas that includes Loka Sangraha. So Naimitaka Karma done properly, it will keep you aligned nicely. Niyatam Karma keeps you accountable. You have to give accounts to somebody, right? Not God, to yourself. It was very interesting that I heard recently that when we say Chitragupta is writing our good and bad, he's the one who keeps our accounts. That Chitragupta is our own conscience inside. Chitra, we are drawing, our own conscience within is writing that. So it keeps us accountable to that conscience. No God is sitting, no God has the time. 7 billion people and all the other species on the earth, which God has a time to say one person's accounts? It keeps you. Kamya Karma, please remember this, while yes, we should pursue, it does keep us circling. So for students of Gita, we can very safely say, please be aware of your Kamya Karmas. Nishiddha Karma, that is what we have to be wary of, keeps you stuck and makes you devolve. Very, very important to understand. And again, we cannot give you a firm template. If we give you a firm template, it will be a moral science class, what Nishiddha karmas are. You, for your own self, have to understand what your Nishiddha, what is it that's taking you away from the self. All of the study is taking us towards the self. Whatever is taking you away from the self, away from the truth, causing you unrest, causing everybody else unrest, is your Nishiddha karma. What those are, you have to understand. Please understand that will keep you stuck and that will devolve. And finally, which we haven't talked about, we will talk about it finally, akarma karma, because that is just one karma that frees you, desireless action. We'll come to it much later. But why I brought it in here, to bring us back to chapter 6, verse 1. Anarshita karma phala karyam karma karoti yaha sasanyasi sayogi cha naniragnir na chakriyaha. Very important to understand. The entire Bhagavad Gita's only intention is to take us out of our ignorance, start making us yogis. It's all one path. They are not separate paths. Start making us into a yogi. Yogi means practicing with our mind, with our body, with our intellect to merge with ourselves, which gradually leads us to that renunciation from the world. It's not forced, and finally brings us to the enlightened state. The only thing that will take us from one step to the next step, to the next step, to the next step is a full understanding of karma, and constantly watching our karmas and constantly doing what is meant to be done in the right way. So we'll end this session this week, and next time we'll take up very important topics which actually tickle every man's mind and woman's mind, is how does it come back to us? Drishtaphala, Adrishtaphala, very, very interesting topics. But before we go to that, it would behoove you to just go through this session one more time, go through your notes, the slides will come, just go through your notes so that you, at an instant, you should be able to ask yourself, Nitya Karma, what does it mean? Anitya Karma, what does it mean? Where are my karmas falling? If you do this little bit of homework, then what is to come will become easier to understand.